What comes to your mind when you think about the immune system? Now think about Africa. What does it bring to mind? On Immuno Africa, our conversations bring both together. We invite professors, postdocs, PhD students, and everyone in between to tell us about their journey into immunology, the questions driving their current work, and the impact they hope to make on the continent. I am Wealth Okete, your guide on this adventure, or better yet, your co-explorer. In each episode, I bring you the inspiring stories, innovative approaches, and invaluable perspectives of the Africans advancing the field of immunology, both locally and globally. Join me for an exciting adventure into immunology through the hands and eyes of Africa. As a follow-up on our last episode, this episode is a compilation of the key insights and highlights shared by our guests in 2024.
You can anticipate mistakes or potential mistakes. For me, that's probably the strongest part of when you know that, okay, somebody is now growing.
Africans should first of all start doing work in our own environment, work that is important, that is good, that is local to our environment. To have something on the table that is worth collaborating about. Collaboration, I don't see it as somebody helping me. I see it as I bring something to the table. That person in Mali brings something to the table. The sum total of what we bring to the table is much more than the individual levels of what we bring. So bring something to the table. Be good at what you do. 3, I know that it is easier for us, especially early career or mid-career researchers, to be looking at that shining, holy grail, strong, award-winning professor somewhere. For me, I would say that most of my collaborations have been peer-level collaborations. The guys you work with, the friends, the people at your level doing good work, it is easier to start working with them because you guys can grow together and also collaborate for a good cause. Don't collaborate because you just want to publish a paper. Don't collaborate because you just want to have the name of that person on what you do, but collaborate for something that you are really interested in. That way, you will be on it for the long haul. And lastly, I will say, when you collaborate, ensure you deliver. People want people who are productive. So if you don't hold your end of the bargain, people are going to walk away.
Collective effort driven by a shared commitment is necessary to actually transform the outcome that we can see currently. I encourage aspiring researchers to remain curious, resilient, and compassionate in the pursuit of scientific excellence and social impact.
To the young scientist, the journey is not one that cannot be conquered. You may have challenges, but I am sure the environment created now within the science and more importantly, the medical area makes it a lot more convincing that yes, we can do this. There's a lot out there to explore. There's a lot out there for us to understand. There are lots of opportunities available internally, externally. We should just avail ourselves and then make sure that we follow the process of apprenticeship, and we avail ourselves, more importantly, to go through this journey to understand the basic concepts and then apply them later on.
Whatever your interest is, whatever it is that keeps you awake at night, that you can actually do and stick to it, not get bored by it. Try to make effort to pursue it to the best of our ability. It mustn't be academic. Every occasion is an opportunity to learn. Pick something out of it. This didn't go so well. What did I learn from it? Or this went so well. What did I do right? So use it as an opportunity. But above all, try. Someone says, should I apply? I say, why shouldn't you apply? Someone can say, oh, should I ask this person? What can happen? They ignore your mail. And then nothing off your face, nothing off your skin. You try again. and try again. But if you're making effort, do your homework so that you have the opportunity of impressing. If you want to move from academia to industry, I would say that you need to keep an open mind. You need to be ready to embrace the industry life. You need to let go of the notion that, publication is how you determine your worth, because you might not be in an area where you will publish as often. And, the bane of academic life is, I've just got this paper published today in Nature, or in Science, or in Cell. It could happen in industry, but you need to reframe your thinking. You need to change your mindset. Coming and getting your education abroad is great, but it's not necessarily the answer. I think people really need to look at what's going on in their local environment and see what they can do based on what's around them. We have a richness of resources. A lot of our land is still very unspoiled, and we really need to look at that and find inspiration in that. And even where we do have challenges, I think a lot of the solutions are going to come from what we have locally. Rather than looking too much to the West, we really need to look more to what we have on the continent.
As long as you have your heart beating, everything is possible. So go for it. If you feel it in yourself, go for it. Never back down, even though it's difficult. Stand for yourself, vouch for yourself, but don't lose yourself in the way of pursuing those objectives. Stay true to yourself. The only way you can achieve something and be proud of what you achieve.
Most of the information that we have in immunology, in characterization of cells, in how the cells work, it's concerning people in different environments from Africa, Chinese people, European people, American people. But we now are very aware that the context, the environment that the person is exposed, even what we eat, will modulate our immune response. So what we are doing, we are trying to bring this information. We are trying to characterize the immune response in different diseases. We expect that with this information, we can help other scientists to think about, let's say, for example, vaccines, target therapies.
Breast milk is wonderful. It is free. You don't need to buy. In this biological liquid, you have human cells, non-human cells, bioactive components such as cytokine, chemokine, lipid, hormone. You have also microbiota. You have particular bacteria, particular virus in breast milk. And all of these are involved in the shape of the immune system of the newborn.
Our conclusion largely was that a significant proportion of women in especially rural settings would have various grades of cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, which would need robust screening programs beyond the usual ones that we do. We also concluded that it is possible that the immune cells that we evaluated were responsible for modulating the responses that these women experience by shifting the Th1 type immunity to Th2 type immunity. So largely, our findings suggest that in cases of cervical dysbiosis, where you have infections occurring, it could cause immune suppression in these women so that the infections would prolong. And it could also create a suitable microenvironment for development of the cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, which will link towards development of cervical cancer. And so we recommend largely that screening programs should be organized such that it encompasses all these three, where we're focusing on the microbiome that is available. We are also looking at the type of immunity or immune responses that are occurring there, so that in interventions, in therapeutic interventions or other interventions, we're looking at probably shifting the balance from Th2 to Th1 so that the immune cells can target these changes and arrest them so as to prevent these women from developing cervical intraepithelial neoplasia.
We had this cohort of HIV-infected people who were already on therapy. We wanted to take broadly neutralizing antibodies that had been made already and engineered such that they last very long. And these were very broadly neutralizing antibodies because they could neutralize up to, I think, 98% of currently circulating strains of HIV. We get that, and then we infuse it into HIV-infected subjects. And then we were very fortunate to be able to get ethical approval to then take these subjects off antiretroviral therapy. And the idea is that, we're not trying to get sterilizing cure, because we know that that's almost impossible because of the latent reservoir that HIV forms. We were trying to get some kind of functional cure where you can get people to take one infusion or two infusions a year, one infusion every 6 months, and they don't have to take a pill a day. And if you can imagine the utility of that, you think about remote areas where it's difficult to get the medicine to them, or it's difficult for them to come out to get the medicines. If you think about places where HIV is still stigmatized, giving them one infusion every 6 months is giving them a new lease of life.
With the HIVQuant project, my focus is more to produce an ambient temperature kit and figure out a system for the use of the assay in either secondary or primary treatment centers that currently don't have the capacity to do the viral load testing, so that early infant diagnosis by DNA quantification and treatment monitoring can be done closer to the point of care and can become more efficient.
When you think about how is cancer research being funded, and where's the money coming from, if there's any money at all, and then we now need to think about how do we make sure that the kind of therapies that we're preferring for people are the ones that actually we need back at home based on the genetic makeup and based on diverse immunological systems and all that. So that's why I think it's a bigger question. But again, why I've said I took interest in natural killer cells is because there are cells that are that can kill actually without necessarily what we call MHC recognition. So they don't need that compatibility and presentation for them to be able to kill. They can just sense a stressed cell or a cancerous cell and then can kill the cell. So based on that, they've been lauded as potentially promising off the shelf, meaning that I don't have to make something new for every person that I want to treat with cancer. So I could actually just have it mass produced, keep it on the shelf like every other medication. And then when somebody needs, I could infuse into them almost like, of course, there will be fundamental checks, almost like blood transfusion, but you can scale in low resource settings.
I could read one journal just 1 to 2, 3 days. Yeah, because I read the context, but you discover that most of the information are found in the supplementary data. And that is when you see a lot, because they don't publish it. Every journal has a limit of words and figures you can put. So they put most into supplementary. So I can read one journal in 3 days. So I can understand what they're doing. And it really helps me. I discovered there are new methods. So I need to take my time to read. So I don't believe in it. It's not a novel. It's a concept.
Know what you want. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Don't be afraid to think outside of yourself. Don't be afraid to dream of yourself as something massive. If you have the opportunity, learn a technique. Become a specialist in a technique. Learn something that requires the use of a specialist machinery, because it always makes you marketable.
Many thanks to our guest, you, our listener, and everyone behind the scenes who made this episode possible, particularly team members Cedric and Cyril. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on your preferred streaming platform. Also, feel free to continue the conversation with us on social media. Tag our handles at @ImmunoAfrica_ or the Immunology in Africa podcast. Support our efforts to amplify African stories of immunology by nominating a guest or buying us coffee. Visit the link in the description or send us an email, immuno.africa@gmail.com. See you on the next episode.